It is my great honor to introduce our founder of this speaker, Mr. Byron Pitts. I'll admit that I did not know much about Mr. Pitts after an extensive Google search and a number of YouTube videos. I'm more than excited to hear him address our honest community. Mr. Pitts rose to his career in banking a rather difficult community. Raised by a single mother who lived with plus 3 children through college, Mr. Pitts had difficulties in his early education. Identified as functionally illiterate at the age of 12, with pronounced stutter, he became driven to improve himself. As his literacy grew, Mr. Pitts developed a love for words. As a stutterer, Mr. Pitts realized the value of words. It is from these experiences, along with his pillars of family, faith, and hard work, that Mr. Pitts has come to live his dream as a renowned journalist. In 2001, he covered the September 11th terrorist attacks. In 2003, he was in Iraq reporting on the war. In early 2005, he witnessed the after-effects of the tsunami in Indonesia. And today, he has come to Erie College as a speaker of great distinction. Please join me in welcoming multiple Emmy Award-winning journalist and an anchor and the chief national correspondent at ABC News, Mr. Byron Pitts.
Struggling with their keeping their student numbers up, but your university's on. Raised $40 million since 2006, I believe. Enrollment's up. More students apply to come to this university. And so I think you should know what a treasure you have to be a university president. So congratulations to you, sir. Continued success. Of the founders of this institution, congratulations to you. Yours is a rich and wonderful history. You can see the fruit of your ancestors' lives. Congratulations to you. That song you guys just did, that's a catchy tune. You should market that, right? Makes more money for the university. It's so nice to be with you today. Here's kind of the format. I'm going to talk for a bit, and then I'm going to open up for questions, and I can take a couple of questions. For the record, to say full disclosure, I'm Baptist. And if there are any Baptists in the room, you know we love to talk. So I am more than capable of filling all of my time talking, but I would like to. Amen? There's a Baptist. But I would like to open up to take some questions, because so often my business as a journalist, I spend the bulk of my time taking when I go to communities. This is an opportunity to give. So answer questions about things that they talk about or things that may interest you in the explore that. I'm going to talk to you. My theme today is fairly simple. 3 words. Live your dream. I believe deeply in dreams. You heard some of my backstory in the introduction. I'm an optimistic person by nature. I think optimism is a choice, and I'll talk to you about that. The great American philosopher, Deion Sanders, said his induction to the NFL Hall of Fame. Deion was, those who are not familiar with the name, was an all-pro defensive back in the NFL, All-American at Florida State University, had a major baseball, phenomenal athlete. Not known necessarily for his oratory skills. But at Deion's induction to the NFL Hall of Fame, he said something I thought was profound. Deion said, in talking to his family and his friends and the other Hall of Fame inductees every day, he said that if your dream only includes you, then your dream is bigger. I like that. If your dream only includes you, then your dream is bigger. I would hope in this room that the students in particular, that you have your dreams, and that you're mindful how fortunate my faith is, how blessed you are to be where you are. Did you know that in this great nation we live in, less than about 20% of Americans have college degrees? If you're a person of African American descent, less than 15% of people of color. If you're of Hispanic descent, smaller than Native American, smaller than. So you are a fortunate class. You are people, I tell my daughter this as a junior in college, that when you meet someone and someone says, how you doing? You should say, man, I'm living the dream. Because each of you are having the opportunity to live the American dream, to get a wonderful education. And I want you to live your dreams. And here's my contribution to that effort. As a journalist, I've been a journalist now for 30 years of the CBS News and 60 Minutes. That may mean something closer with gray hair to the student. I think that doesn't probably mean very much. I've been a professional journalist for 30 years. As a network correspondent, I've had the opportunity, I've interviewed the last 6 presidents of the United States, some in office, some out of office. I've covered 3 wars. I've been to 49 countries. And at last count, I've watched 38 people die. I've watched as American service members gave their full measure to our great nation in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. I was in New York on 9/11 and watched as people, many of them fell to their deaths. I covered the earthquake in Haiti where 300,000 people were killed like that. The tsunami in Indonesia. I was in northern Afghanistan not long after 9/11 and watched as a 13-year-old boy was stoned to death for being a suspected Taliban fighter. I've covered 2 executions. I saw a man put to death in an electric chair in Virginia in 1986. And I was a witness to the Timothy McVeigh execution, the Oklahoma City bomb. The man convicted of killing 168 men, women, and children. A homegrown terrorist raised in a Christian household. He was put to death by lethal injection. In many ways, as a journalist, I make my living covering death. And I make my peace with that. But something that I'm not comfortable with that keeps me up at night is indifference. Because I've learned over the years that indifference can be a deadly weapon. Good and decent people, given great opportunity in their life, don't seize the opportunity to make the world better in their own way. They are indifferent to the issues around them. Then that is a deadly weapon. It's dangerous. So my message to you today, especially students, is don't be indifferent about the gifts you've been given. Don't be indifferent about the opportunities you have, not just to live your dream, but to allow others to live theirs. There is power. It is amazing how an individual can change someone's life based on what you say, based on what you do. I know that not just because of what I do in my professional life as a network correspondent. I know that because of my own personal story, as Joe alluded to. You see, long before I was ever Byron Pitts of ABC News, I was a kid from East Baltimore. I would imagine my story is similar to a few people in this room. Born in East Baltimore, raised by a single parent. My mother had her first child when she was 17. She had me before she finished high school. I didn't learn to read until I was 12. I spoke with a stutter until I was 20, my junior year in college. In middle school, unable to read, the doctors ran a series of tests. And they brought my mother in to give her the results. And he said, Miss, I'm sorry. Again, my mother, first child at 17, had a 10th grade education. And my mother knew the power and importance of education. Eventually, she went back to school and earned her degree as a social worker. Spent the bulk of her professional life working with women and families much like her own. But in this particular moment in her life, the touch results came in to explain why is it that Byron can't read. The doctor said, Miss Pitts, we're sorry to inform you, run a series of tests. And it's our diagnosis that your son Byron is mentally retarded. And we believe he should be institutionalized. At the time, as I said, my mother had a 10th grade education. But fortunately for me, my mother she passed away 2 years ago. My mother's a Southern woman. There's something wonderful about mothers and what a mother will do for her child. You know, a good mother will kill a brick for her child. And And I was blessed with a good mother. My mother said, well, test him again. And said, Miss Pitts, didn't you concern? We told you your son can't read or read. We think he should be institutional. She said, well, didn't you hear me? Test him again. So they did. They bring us all back together a few weeks later, and the test results were the same. They said, again, Ms. Pitts, our recommendation to you is that you have your son institutionalized because you lack the resources to give him the help that he needs. But if you decline our recommendation, all we can offer to you is to bring him back when he's 18, and there might be state resources to help your son. And my mother says, if you wait until my boy is 18 years old, my son will be dead or in prison. My son needs help now, but none was available. Fortunately for me, what my mother lacked in formal education at the time, she made up for what the old folk said her knowledge of the word. You see, for all of my life, and much of her life, my mother wore around her neck a small mustard seed encased in a clear plastic ball and chain around her neck. It was a daily reminder of the scripture. The book of Matthew says, if you have faith just the size of a mustard seed, you can say to any mountain, move from here to there, and nothing will be impossible. It is with my mother's mountain-moving faith, she got me the help I need. Now, I'm respectful of where I am. I am respectful of all faiths. I was raised that way. But the great Yankee catcher Yogi Berra once said, always dance with the one that wrung you. So I choose to dance with the one that's wrung me thus far. A few years ago, I wrote a book called Step Out on Nothing. And most of it was a story about my mother's life, her journey, and what she did for me. The title, Step Out on Nothing, comes from a sermon in my home church back in New Jersey several years ago. It was a women's day service. A visiting minister, a woman, had come to our church that day to give a message. And so she was speaking primarily to the women of our church. She was talking about pedicures, manicures, women's sore feet. I thought, my Lord, what time is it? Because there was nothing in the sermon for me. And then she said something that took my breath away. She said, for people of faith, in those difficult moments, when your resume, your Rolodex, who your parents are, how much money you have in the bank, isn't enough to get you past difficult moments. For people of faith, we step out to a place where non-believers would say you're stepping out of nothing, but we step to a place where only God is. I said, yeah, that is my story. I would imagine maybe the story of some people in this room. Now, I know in this room today, there are people here who will graduate Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude, summa cum laude. I graduated, thank you, Lord. One time. That's as much as I can say in my college experience. When I went to Ohio Wesleyan University, a school not too far from here, much like this institution, a small liberal arts school, a private school. When I went to Ohio Wesleyan, I knew I wanted to be a journalist. But I wasn't fully prepared for the college experience. After my first semester in college, I was placed in academic probation. I would imagine there might be some folk in this room who can relate to that. I know that there are legacy students here. I also imagine there's students here who are the first person in your family to go to college. And I know what a wonderful blessing and burden that can be. You're carrying not just your dreams, your hopes, but the dreams and hopes of your family, your parents, your grandparents, the folk in your church, the folk in your community. So when I arrived at Ohio Wesleyan in 1978, a school about the same size as this institution, I was placed on academic probation after my first semester. I got an F in English. Mr. President, I became a journalist, and I got an F in English. Maybe this is something about my profession, but I got an F in English my first semester in college, and so I was raised in my family. My mother's philosophy about life is just work hard, right? There's no problem that can't be overcome with hard work and thoughtful praise. So I took the same professor I had who gave me the F in the fall. I took in the second semester thinking if I just work hard, I would do better next time. About midway through the semester, he was passing out midterm exams. And this professor, he got to me, class of about 9, 12 students. He got to me, he announced to the whole class, congratulations, Mr. Pitts, best work thus far. D+. Come see me after class. Yes, sir. I was 17 years old, raised to respect the parents, so I followed him to his office. He said, Mr. Pitts, don't sit down, this won't take long. He said, Mr. Pitts, as a tenured professor, it took about 20 minutes to say tenure. As a tenured professor at Ohio Wesleyan University, I don't believe that you are Ohio Wesleyan material. I think you're wasting my time and the government's money. I think you should leave. Yes, sir. I left this office, went right away to the admissions office next door, and got the papers to withdraw from college. And as I was filling out the form to leave school, I began to cry. Now, there's nothing wrong with a man crying. And I'm shedding tears because I know at that moment, as the first in my family to go to college, not only was I letting go of my dreams, the dreams my family had, the people who supported me, and I began to cry. And these weren't like Hollywood tears. Shoulder shaking, head bobbing, nose running kind of tears. Anybody ever cry like that? Somebody? Amen. A couple fellas raising their hands. So I'm just crying my eyes. About that time, true story, a stranger walks by. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. She simply said, "Young man, what's wrong?" This story is important. It's a reminder of how important language is. What you say to people can make a difference in their lives, no matter where you are in your life. So the stranger sits down and says, "Young man, what's wrong?" We talk for about 20 minutes. I give her my sad story. She says, "Well, before you leave school, come see me tomorrow." And you know, you're going to cry the way I described, you have a hard time hearing. I didn't catch her name, but I remembered her spirit when she said her office was. I went to see her the next day. Come to find out, the stranger was actually a professor at Ohio Wesleyan. Not any professor, but an English professor. And not any English professor, but a first-year English professor. It was my first year at Ohio Wesleyan University. It was her first year at Ohio Wesleyan University. This is a woman who I'm sure had her own issues going on in her own life, concerned about getting tenure, growing her relationships with her colleagues at the university. But she saw a young person in need and stopped and asked, "What's wrong?" Her name is Ula Lewis. Ula's from the country of Estonia, a country ravaged in World War II, first by the Russians and then by the Germans. She was raised in refugee camps in Eastern Europe. The Lutheran Church brought her and her family to Roxbury, Massachusetts in 1950. Please know that Roxbury, Massachusetts could be a difficult environment for a blue-eyed, blonde-haired white girl with an accent. So she knew something about struggle from her own experience. My friends, please know that all of us, wherever we are, wherever we sit, all of us have struggle in our life. Yes? I'm a believer, though, that struggle only makes us stronger. That when we experience trouble, we should count it all joy. I know this is a school with a rich athletic history. I see there are athletes in the room today, and they know that as an athlete, you have to work to build your body. Yes, you lift weights to get stronger. Well, lifting weights, what you're doing is you are tearing the muscle in order to grow the muscle. Life is that way. Struggle, if we embrace it, can be a good thing. I like to say that Ula, she didn't simply change my life. She saved my life. She stepped out of nothing for me. She had no reason whatsoever to help me. I wasn't one of her students. I wasn't in the class. She wasn't my advisor. She didn't know me. But she had a kind, wonderful spirit and thought she had something, a gift she could share with me. Sometimes I think when we go to assist other people, we see assistance as reaching down to help someone, yes? A younger person or an older person. But sometimes, my friends, helping someone would be reaching across to a peer. Right? Someone same age, a similar or completely different circumstance. My best friend in college was a guy named Peter Holt. Peter Holt was from Minnetonka, Minnesota. It's fair to say I've never met anyone from Minnetonka, Minnesota, and Peter never met anyone from East Baltimore, if you know what I'm saying. I know here at college, you guys, I'm sure you stayed late at night, eating cold pizza, salted and roast pop, drinking your favorite beverage. Students, please know you are not the first generation to spend late nights. We did that ages ago when I was in college. And so Pete and I were up late one night talking. And he says, you know, baby boy, let me ask you a question. Now, we weren't brothers. But I guess that's how Pete thought. And then Tom, you spoke to a brother when he was born. this guy called me out there. And so, but eventually I explained to Pete my issue. Didn't learn to read until I was 12. When I went to college, I only read one book for enjoyment when I went to college. For me, college was hard work. It was a struggle every single semester, financially and academically. I wasn't fully prepared for the college experience. And that might be the story for some of you, that you got here certainly willing, enthusiastic, but perhaps not as fundamentally prepared for college as you need to be. And that can be a difficult place to be. So when I explained to Pete my situation, he was about to major. I explained to Pete my situation, okay, baby boy, I got you. Here's what we're going to do. Every day for the next 4 years, because you will graduate in 4 years, I will give you a new word in the dictionary. I want you to say it, spell it, use it in a sentence. We did that every single day for 4 years. I was 17 years old, Pete was 18 years old. He had nothing to give me except for access to his growing mind. He had no reason at all whatsoever to help me, but he did. Young people, each of you, where you sit right now, have the opportunity to help someone. If you're one of those legacy students, right? And for you going to college, it was a given the day you were born. And you have gifts, you have experiences to share with fellow students here for whom that's not their journey. For those of you who are the first in your family, come from difficult backgrounds, to get a college degree, you have things that you can share with people. And coming on campus today, we took a little detour through town. I know, like much of this part of Ohio, like many parts of our country, that this is a community, while it is recovering now, has known hard times. That there are still neighborhoods in this community where young people live in hard times. Do you know how powerful it will be? It is for a young person, a boy in middle school, or a girl in grade school, to see you when you walk through town with your University jersey on, where they can overhear your conversation involved and see how you speak, what you envision for yourself, how empowering it is for them. The last story I'll tell you about is a young woman I met a few years back in my hometown of Baltimore, East Baltimore. She's a student, she's in middle school. She goes to a student in middle school, a charter school in East Baltimore, where 68% of the students come from no-parent households. 68% of the students come from no-parent households. That means they don't have a mom or dad at home. Now, I know many of us may know the challenges of being raised by a single parent, but I have no experience to relate to someone raised without a mother or father. And it's not just in urban settings like Baltimore, New York, or Philadelphia. Toledo, Ohio, the great American city in this great state, in Toledo, Ohio, 50% of the children in public school in Toledo, Ohio, come from no-parent households. I would imagine there are children in this community who, when they close their eyes at night, there isn't a mother or father to say goodnight. Rest well. That was the case at the school I was at several years ago, talking about my book, talking to young people about the importance of education, the importance of staying optimistic, the importance of having a dream and a vision for your life. So when I was done speaking, the kids came up, I signed some autographs and answered the questions from faculty members and visitors in school and teachers and administration and all the older students. And I noticed this beautiful 11-year-old girl, a bit undersized, thin, thick football glasses, her hair in braids. And she waited patiently for me to finish my speech and to answer the questions of her classmates. And then she walked up to me and she said, Mr. Pitts, I heard your story. I have one question to ask you. May I ask you one question? Sure, sweetheart. What is your question? 11-year-old girl. She said, Mr. Pitts, when you were my age, when you were 11, in Baltimore, where did you go? Where did you hide when the world hurt too much? My friends, no child of the most powerful nation on earth that man has ever known should ever ask that question, but we know that they do. Where do I go? Where do I hide when the world hurts too much? Her backstory, a little bit. This is a girl who, at 4 years old, her mother had a choice to make. The new boyfriend or her child chose the boyfriend and abandoned her home. At At 6 in school, she was diagnosed as learning disabled and taken out of the mainstream program. At 8, in foster care, a boy was moved into her home who began sexually molesting her at 8, and it didn't stop until she was 11. When I met her, she was still in that situation. And after our conversation, some of the faculty members said, "What is she asking?" Because she didn't talk to anybody. And I told them what she said, and they investigated the situation, and they got out of the situation. Today, this 11-year-old girl is now in sophomore in high school. She's a student at the sister school of my high school, one of the elite all-girls high schools in Baltimore. Now, her story is still being written. Her future is still uncertain, but she's on path. And her question lives with me every single day. Where do I go? Where do I hide when the world hurts too much? Students, those of you who have the rare opportunity in this great nation to get an education, to change your life, change your family's life, you also have the opportunity and the responsibility to impact others. No matter your major, no matter your chosen profession, there are people in this country every single day who ask the questions, where do I go? Where do I hide when the world hurts too much? One of the founders of Ohio College in there said at their first commencement speech, be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. I like that. Students at this great institution, be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. Be willing to be the person in your community, in this town, on this campus today, that when someone says, where do I go, where do I hide when the world hurts too much, you say, come to me. Now, as a journalist, I'm a paid skeptic, right? I point out what's wrong with the world every single day of my professional life. But know this, ours is the greatest country on earth. America, the promise of America is like no place else on earth. Despite any challenge, people still send their children from around the world to come to our country to be educated. We remain the envy of the world. Only in America. It doesn't matter where you were born. You can do anything you want to do in this country. Young people, if you love America, she will love you back. Sometimes we forget how fortunate we are in this country. We take it for granted the opportunity. You all who are new to the university, you take for granted some of the changes that have occurred since 2006. You walk across campus, some of these manicured lawns and the nice sidewalks, you take for granted. Athletes, the resources that you have to work out with, the equipment you're getting, the clothes you take it for granted, right? But sometimes you have to be reminded how fortunate, how blessed we are. A few years ago, I was in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, on business. I was in a hurry, I get in a cab, day much like today, for a chilly time. I hop in a cab and lay, I'm irritable, it's rainy, and the cab driver says, "Good morning, brother, how are you?" Like your greetings to me when I first started talking. I'm fine. Well, I'm doing great, brother. Thank you for asking. I did that. Oh, brother, what isn't it a great day today? I'm like, it's 40 degrees outside. It's raining. What's good about today? I'm thinking to myself. And so as a paid observer, as a journalist, right, it's my job to notice human behavior. I quickly conclude this man must be inebriated, right? He has to be high. This kind of enthusiasm out today. So I said, "Excuse me, sir, is there a problem?" "No, brother, no problem. No problem. Life is so good. My life is so good. Let me tell you about it. Thanks for asking." Says my brother, I'm Ethiopia. I'm from Ethiopia. He says, and today is a great day. My wife, also from Ethiopia, just gave birth to our first child, who was born in this country, is now an American citizen. What a great country this is. I had just finished graduate school. Driving cab, he and his wife were starting their own business. He told me a great story of being a child of Ethiopia. As a boy, he had a sister. His mother died when he was very young. They were raised by their father, a craftsman, and then worked with his hands. And his father would, on occasion, invite he and his sister into his bedroom and into a closet where he kept hidden under the baseboard of the closet floor a box. And inside that box, he kept $1 US. And every so often, to encourage his children, he would take out the box, take out the dollar, and say, look, on their currency it says, in God we trust. In America, all things are possible. In America, you can have a dream and live it. In America, all things are possible. The character tells us when he and his sister get older, his twin sister, his father buys each of them a suitcase, both white. One has a red handle, the other has a blue handle. Red, white, and blue. Colors of our life. This man was so excited about the opportunity that we have in this nation. And young people, no matter where you come from, you can go anywhere you want to go in this life if you're passionate enough, if you're optimistic enough, if you have a vision for yourself. I'm a big believer in plan. I mean, you clearly know from my backstory, I'm not the brightest guy anymore, right? I'm not the sharpest one anymore. Whatever the measure of success I've had, it's come from hard work. I've been blessed to be surrounded by great people, but it's also about having a plan. I was talking to Joe earlier, like, you know, Joe has a job already? He hasn't been graduated, he has a job. How cool is that? There's a school of thought as human beings, right? All of us. That as human beings from birth to 30, you learn school, you learn your craft profession. From 30 to 60, you earn. Those are the peak earning years for most of us, unless you are a supermodel or world-class athlete, right? And 60 to 90, you give them away. Your grandchildren, you pass on, you donate back to university, other people will contribute to the university, to the next generation. Has the opportunity you have. And I would encourage you to have a plan. My mother used to tell me, she says, son, every dream has an address. I believe it. Every dream has an address. I would encourage each of you to have a dream. Have a plan for yourself, and when you say it out loud, your friends laugh. When I was a freshman at Ohio Wesleyan University, on academic probation, spoke with the study, and one of my friends said, Byron, what do you want to do? I said, I'm going to be journalist. I'm going to work 60 minutes in bed. I'm like, Brian, I'm on academic probation right now. You got to get on probation. But I had a dream vision from her. And a plan. I would encourage you to have a plan and a vision for yourself. Because I was telling Joe, you can't get to where you want to go unless you know where you're trying to get to. Does that make sense? Just have a plan for yourself. Remain optimistic. And be mindful that your dream should be wonderful, but it should be big enough to include people other than yourself. Thank you so much. My struggle with reading, I now love words. How awesome. I'm a stutterer. I still stutter to this, and I learned to manage it. Well, as a stutterer, it's made me a better listener. What a wonderful gift to be a good listener. Now I'm married, so I've been arguing at home because I can't keep up with my wife in verbal combat. But successful, who had me, he made me get a job at a radio station. Well, okay, we're going to face it head on and deal with it. You know, he gave me the 2 a.m. shift, so there wasn't a big audience. He gave me started like that. He would have me speak with pencils in my mind to feel what speaking properly sounds like, but hard work. And I think, you know, so success in general, for me, someone asked my mother once how she was able, as a single parent, as a divorcee, how she was able to send 3 kids to college. And I was, oh, it's simple. I've told each child he will go to college, or I'll beat you to death. So I had that one peaceful sort of mom. Gentlemen here,
yes, thank you for your candid story. I wonder if you could comment about balance in life between wearing the different hats that you wear as a journalist, as a family person, as a person for others. How do you balance? Just your thoughts on balance.
Sure, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I didn't learn the value of balance until late in life, right? Later. Because I was so focused on being successful. You know, I went on the wrong way, right? I wanted to, as I'm sure like many people in this room, like my goals were to get a job as quickly as possible, to be successful, to make as much money as possible, to buy my mother everything she didn't have. Like my mother was her last breath. She had a home that I bought for her, she had a car for her. In fact, the last word my mother ever said on earth, call by. Balance is a wonderful thing. It's something I still struggle with. Balancing my faith, balancing my professional responsibilities, balancing these kinds of opportunities. You know, like I was someone, I didn't have a plan B. My plan was to go to college, graduate as quickly as possible. You know, I didn't graduate college. I knew my career path. I said when I was 18 years old, I'd be a 60 Minutes correspondent by age 45. And so I went to Memphis. I took my first vacation until my youngest daughter was about 8 years old. Because I was in my family on vacation, but I was so focused on that. A side note, like one of my other issues was anger. I know a lot of young people, young men, oftentimes young men of color, have issues of managing anger. You know, my parents divorced when I was very angry with my father. And so for a big part of my life, I was angry. Always outwardly pleasant like I am today, but internally angry. Angry by our financial circumstances, angry that I was abandoned by my father, angry by the insults that can come your way if you come from a neighborhood I come from. And so I mastered. So you know, I played football and wrestled in college. So for me, athletics was the academy for my hand. I mean, I was a strong safety in football, right? And so, you know, knocking a guy to the ground brought me great joy. Right? Released my being successful, you know, wanting to prove in my own mind that, you know, my father was in my life, so he told me so I'm going to prove him wrong by being successful. Like I wear a pocket square today. I've worn one my entire professional life, even before it was in fashion, because my father has always worn a pocket square. So every morning when I wake up and I get dressed for work, I put in my pocket square and I tie it. Because it reminds me of the man I don't want to be. And so for much of my life, it took me a while to get past it. For a while, anger fueled me, but eventually I realized that anger was a deep struggle. And so I'm just now getting to the point where I'm mindful of the importance of balance. But it is not something that I was even aware of for the longest time. It's so good to be successful, to prove my own life. Yes.
Hi, my name is Nadia. My question is, you talked earlier about an 11-year-old girl who asked you, where do you go when it hurts too much? And you didn't quite answer, what did you say to her?
No.
Personally, that's sort of my story. Little differences. But when I go home, this Thanksgiving or Christmas, I'm not sure what to expect. I don't know where my friends are living right now. And, you know, the world seems to hurt so much, and I don't quite know where to go. And it's all that I can answer that question.
Yeah. You know, my answer this little name is P1, and we stayed the night. In fact, I went to her house a few years ago, and we reconnected. And in her house, in her bedroom, very sparkling bedroom, she has a picture of her little sister, who's 2 years old. Just a Polaroid picture taken of them when she was 4, she was sister 2. Hadn't seen her since. So a picture of her and sister on her nightstand, and a note I'd written to her. And her room was covered with books. PLR's answer that she gave me since she's been in high school, where do you go, where do you hide, we won't live too much. Her answer is, no one can touch me. And for her, that place is her imagination. She is a ferocious reader. Like academically, she's off the charts in reading. She struggles with math and go. So that's her space. And when she asked me the question, my answer to her, where do you go, where do you hide when the world hurts you? I said, baby, the answer for me is always that there are good and decent people in this world. And if you just hold on, don't go looking for them, they'll find you. And that's my answer. Because that's certainly, that's been my testimony. In every difficult moment of my life. And all of us have difficulties of a different measure, a different degree. But pain is pain when you're experiencing it. Suffering is personal when you're in this. And my own journey has been that at every difficult moment of my life, someone's always come into my life. That's why I felt the importance of being optimistic. That if you are optimistic, if you're hopeful, if you're doing the best you can, people will recognize that and people will come to you and help you along. Right? And so I believe that appeal, I believe it for myself. I believe that for all people. That all of us have things we carry. And none of us can carry those things alone. And I meant it when I said that ours is a wonderful country. You know, we lead the world in charitable donation. No people on earth give more money to causes than the American. We are a charitable, good nation. And people will respond. People will lead us where we are. Final question.
I think this will be our last question.
Tony, what's drew your attention to journalism? Why do you want to be a journalist? Like, when did it feel real to you? You get in a doctor, you get in a lawyer.
No, why couldn't you not? I think as I mentioned, because of my own life, because of my popularity so much, so you invite me there. I'm a Christian. My faith is very important. I believe deeply in the power of prayer. I believe my faith tradition tells me it's not at all. Every experience is meant to teach us something. That we're all here for a purpose. And because of my early struggles with reading, I now love words in the way I would imagine the average person does. As a study, I value speaking clearly. I value communication more than the average person. Growing up poor, right? One of the great things about growing up poor, you grow up poor. You don't necessarily really sort of recognize kind of where you are on the socioeconomic ladder, because everyone's kind of in the same circumstance. But when you grow up poor, you do recognize how other people have influence over your life, how people can kind of put you down, put you in place. As a child, as a young child in the 60s, my church was very active in civil rights movement. And I remember going to the civil rights demonstrations with my church or with my mom. My mom took us there. I mean, single parent, my mother would take us to the bar on Friday. She wasn't girlfriend. Like me and my brother at the football table, or she was having, her happy hour with her girlfriend. Anyway, so I had experience as a young child going to a civil rights rally in Baltimore, where we show up, the demonstration, white, Hispanic, young, old, we show up, and if the media was there, newspaper, TV, photographers were there, the police would behave one way. If there was no media there, the police would behave completely different. So as a young child, 8 or 9 years old, I saw what I perceived to be the power of the good that the media had to make people accountable. So when I think about all the gifts that God has given me, the gift of study, the gift of literacy, young in my life, okay, where can I take these gifts that God's given me and apply them in the meeting. Because fundamentally, as a journalist, my job is to be a witness, to go places, to experience things, most often to witness struggle. I know a lot about struggle from my own experience. I know about anger from my own experience. I've witnessed violence in my own lifetime. And so, wow, so I feel like this is the one thing on earth I'm meant to do. I'm not good at anything else. Didn't have a plan B. It was go to school, graduate, get a job as quickly as I could. I got school a year before I got my first job in journalism. And it was a struggle growing up. Last thing I'll say, one of my friends in college, thank you, sir, for your question. One of my homeboys back in Baltimore, who didn't go to college, he stayed at home to work in the, how shall I phrase it, the street pharmaceutical industry. Well, he was my boy. We worked together, we were tied for we were still friends. He was a stretching for a while. We lived in prison. I was raised as we were friends, good days back. Anyway, so I came home after my first job. I would see home to you. And in college, I played ball at 195, right? Most of the time in college. But my first year out of school, I was in like 165. Because, I was getting $8,600 a year. I've been tuned every way known to me. So when you guys get your fancy degrees, there's some tuna fish in your future. Any students know what a jam sandwich is? No? Oh, you know jam sandwich? 2 pieces of bread, jam together, nothing in between. What's a jam sandwich? So I'm home visiting, back in the neighborhood, I see my homework producer. He's like, what's up, man? So, I heard you in the media, you like a model or something? I'm like, oh, that's pretty simple. I'm like, well, I'm just a struggling journalist, I lost my way. But I had a vision for myself, I knew what I wanted to do. I felt like I'm using the gifts that God gave me. I wanted to work, top level of my profession. Like, there have only been like 8 60 Minutes correspondents in 45 years of the program. I'm one of those 8 people. Because of the anger, the thing, I stayed very focused to do that one thing. And, I'm having time for life. Thank you all so much. Last thing I'll say, sorry. To the students, if I can help any student here, because I believe in the power of paying it forward. Here's my cell phone number, 917-414-8340. If there are any students who are interested in journalism, if I can help in any way, I believe in the gift of paying it forward, because I am learning for someone else. You guys can hear me? 917-414-8340. Thank you so much. God bless. At this time, as we close every ceremony, let's go in and ask you all to stand and join us in singing the Republic of